This is Fox News at 11.
Tonight, a child in foster care dies after she is returned to her birth parents. We'll have the fallout.
But we begin with a story only on Fox about a family reunification with a tragic twist. A loving foster family rescues a child from neglect and abuse, only to be ordered to return that child to her birth parents.
And now those birth parents are charged with the child's death. Ed Lascos with details.
And
so
yeah, guys, this one is very, very sad. And as we do the backstory here, it'll break your heart when you hear about this. We're talking about the LA County Department of Child Protective Services, or CPS as it's called, and what that troubled agency did that led to a little girl dying. A girl who will forever be 2 years young, Tori Sandoval, her name. To the video, Dave, if you would please. This is home video. There is Tori with her foster parents, and they loved this little girl, but they always had the worry that the tragedy would come forward, the tragedy being that the birth parents would want this little girl back. So the foster parents had concerns. They wrote a letter warning this would be great danger. Nobody listened, though. Listen here.
Well, the judge is definitely... They're kind of untouchable, which is kind of a frustrating thing. But I mean, even the social workers, I pleaded with the social worker and Tori's attorney. She had her own minors counsel, and I pleaded and begged before they even returned her.
Yeah, she couldn't speak or defend for herself, and no one stood up for her.
We were just hoping that, whatever the process ended up, that we were willing to adopt her if reunification wasn't possible.
Yeah.
But if we fell in love with her the minute. I mean, she was no different than our biological son.
That from Studio 11 LA earlier. Tori died April last year. We're told her body was covered with bruises, a rib fractured. She died thirsty. She died hungry. Now the system finally is working. Tori's birth parents, they're both in court. Mother and father in court earlier today. They're being charged with murder. They're being charged with child endangerment. They're back in court next month. The law finally standing up for this little girl. That from our legal eagle, attorney Robin Sachs. Listen.
For the first time that I can think of, not only are we blaming or holding accountable DCFS in the courts, but they're actually taking action. The DA's office has done a magnificent job by holding the actual parents responsible.
Well, I hope it's...
Yeah, Jeff hopes, we all hope it's finally going to help in this case and bring some justice now that the girl's foster parents are still working to try to bring justice to all other little children involved here. They have a special website called TorisTorch.com, TorisTorch.com, to try to help, and as they say, give this little girl finally a voice to help other innocent victims.
It's a beautiful website, beautiful video of their little daughter. She loved ladybugs, and they made a ribbon with the ladybugs on it. But the birth family, gosh, the history of the birth family was really troublesome. The mother has 11 kids.
Right, had 9 children at the time when Tori came around, and certainly a history of domestic violence, domestic abuse, and that's what the foster parents were warning the judge about, warning the courts about, saying, please don't do this.
Well, Ed, let me tell you this. I work with Wednesday's Child, so I can tell you I work with kids that are in foster care, and the judge and the courts have ruled they cannot go back with birth family because of such concerns, and they then must be adopted. So we've had Wednesday's Child, 500 kids alone, find forever families. So it does happen the right way. This clearly failed. My question is, why did the judge, why did the courts think that this child could go back to the birth family? And I don't know if we'll have that answer.
I don't think we ever will. They're investigating it now. But am I correct in saying and asking that when the judge and the courts consider this, they look at how maybe that the birth mother might treat that particular child and not the history of how they treat, that birth mother might treat all the children?
From what I know, they look at the history, but they also look at what progress the birth family has made. There's been a great effort to keep families together because we know the hurt that the children go through when they go through the situation in the courts and foster care. But the families generally have to prove that they have made some progress, that there is some change, that the home setting is safe, that the parent is off of drugs. So what happened in this case, I don't know. Did the parents prove that they did well at some point, and then something tragic happened down the road? We don't have the answer to that.
No, we don't at this
Your heart
point.
goes out to that foster family who tried so hard to hang on to her.
Indeed, and it's tough to look at the pictures of that pretty little girl, and now we understand, we find out what happened.
Yeah, well, they're fighting for justice for other children. They're going to be a voice for other children. And the beautiful thing here is knowing that there are families like that out there for these children.
Amen.
Absolutely.
You bet.